your life.
Yes, it's getting. Yeah, it's like.
Mm-hmm. देखना कितना डिले है. Try to type something and see. मैंने अल्ट्रा लो लेटेंसी पे किया. It should be almost real time.
I am not there though. I am black.
Uh, something is wrong.
हाँ अब ठीक है हो गया हो गया हो गया हो गया. Go back to whatever you did. Was there then.
अभी
एक सेकंड.
नहीं. Black आ रहा है for some reason.
आ गया आ गया आ गया हो
तेरा
गया.
थोड़ा on off है. I don't know why.
हो गया था.
Like if I एक minute.
अब हो गया रे हो गया.
हाँ. But if I minimize your window, हाँ ठीक है. Seems okay to me.
The quality is fine.
Jitesh has texted Vipul, nice haircut boy. Your video is paused. ये मेरे को render करना ही पड़ेगा.
हाँ हाँ you have to keep it side. एक साइड में पटक दे उसको.
हाँ कर दिया मैंने. Now I can see a lot of you.
Nice. Good. Nice.
Okay. Let's see. एक दो जने आ जाते हैं. Then we'll start. Concurrent viewers too. I can also do like a 360 video.
No need to for a 360 video. No, the latency is fine. दिखनी है.
I think my stream वाली चीज़ close कर सकता. I don't need this. Check on my phone if it's working fine.
I'm checking it's working fine.
Hello.
Hello. It's working fine. I'm telling you.
Okay. Okay. So should I zoom in maybe a little bit?
Sure, but not too much. Full screen. Do a full screen. No, better to do full screen. And then just close the file window.
This one.
Uh,
We might need this.
File navigate. अभी के लिए बंद कर दे. I'll tell you when we need it. ठीक है. हाँ ठीक है ये भी ठीक है. इसको थोड़ा छोटा कर दे.
Okay.
हाँ तो देख अभी जो स्क्रीन पे है ना. Do you know what this all means? Do you know this much?
Yes, this is an unordered list and li is list element. I don't know why there is an I. Li.
हाँ ठीक है. Bad pun, but okay. हाँ so basically, do you know what this app is?
I think this is a component, I'm guessing.
This is a component app. So basically now, let's start from, if you know this much, let's start from our first concept. Why don't you create a component on like,
I
we
don't
could
know.
just,
I just made a
I'll
wild
tell you,
guess.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. So just press enter and then like try to create a function.
Where? A new
So,
function?
so just press enter.
Cannot editor. You have to give me a
Okay,
editor access.
I'll get.
Okay. So I'm going to type export because we want to.
No need to export.
Just a
Go to,
function.
do it here.
Function.
Do it above.
What should I call it? Let's say first. And then
Do one thing. Do one thing. Do it on line 3.
line 3. Okay.
Just take this whole thing and take it to line 3.
Okay. Abhi?
So so just created a function, right? It's called first.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you create a function whose first letter is a capital letter, right?
Mm-hmm.
This can be a component. Can be. And this thing can be.
Okay.
Will it be or not? Depends, right?
What is a component
So
though?
I'll tell you what it is. What is a component? So can you do one thing? Just take this whole thing, right,
Mm-hmm.
and return this. So just cut it from here, and
Or I can maybe
uh,
return a P.
yeah, you can. But sure, let's return a P.
Okay.
You don't need the object braces. So remove those.
Okay.
That's the problem.
And one thing I'm noticing that
Um,
you can just write it like it's not a string, right? Like
what is
ये
not?
जैसे ये है, you put it in these. अच्छा. So I'll also have
No,
to put this in
no,
parents.
no. It'll come up automatically. Just type. Just save it. React will
Okay.
do it for you. The code sandbox will do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now say something
Hello.
inside.
This is a function. हाँ, like this is not a string. मतलब इसको double quotes में होना चाहिए था, but this is not.
Yeah. So I'll tell you why it's not right.
Mm-hmm.
So remember I told you that you created this thing called a function and its first letter is a capital one,
Mm-hmm.
and this can and can might and might not be a component, right?
Mm-hmm.
What you're returning from here decides whether it's a component or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
तो ये जो तू देख रहा है ना, this seems like HTML code, right?
Yes.
But this is something known as JSX. So I'll just write a comment.
JSX.
Huh.
Active
It's
JavaScript.
no, it's JavaScript extended.
Okay.
Okay. So this is sort of a markup language like HTML,
Mm-hmm.
but this is not HTML. Okay. So if you
Like one
save
to
this,
one है जो HTML में चलता है वो सब इस पे चलता है.
sort of. So you can think of this in terms of like a superset. Okay.
Okay.
So you
Okay.
might find things that are in HTML, but don't think of this as HTML. Okay. This is
Okay.
JS. Okay.
Okay.
So because your function is returning a piece of JSX,
Mm-hmm.
that's why this is a component. If this didn't happen, this is just a plain function. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, how do you consume these? Okay. So I'll show you how. So what you do is you just do this,
So it becomes a
right?
tag of itself, like in itself.
Yeah. So you again, this is JSX.
Mm-hmm.
Tags are HTML thing, right? This is
Okay.
JSX. This is how you consume a component. Okay.
Okay.
Now you could intermix what looks like HTML and what is a JavaScript component, right?
Mm-hmm.
The React component. The only reason is because this whole thing is also JSX. Nothing is HTML here. Okay,
Okay.
cool. So what we are doing is, so let's learn our first concept. It's called composition. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So React has three main things that come out of it as from the React.js library.
Mm-hmm.
This thing, right? Just three things. Okay. First
Mm-hmm.
is the ability to create components. Okay. Now components are nothing but just a chunk of UI that you can reuse. So
Okay.
what I could have done is I could have been like this.
So it's
It
not
just
like a React like concept. It's an abstract concept or
no
like.
no it's this thing here. It's
Mm-hmm.
a React thing. It's called a component.
Right, but like
Component is
we don't have to like import it from a base it off of a component class or something.
no we don't.
Okay.
We are just creating a function and
Mm-hmm.
returning some JSX. And
Okay.
any function with a capital first letter that returns some JSX is a component.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So the we just created a component, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just returning some JSX. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can consume this anywhere. So just go back to the times where you have done some web development. You know the concept of templates, right?
Yes.
So think of this in terms of templates. You will create a component,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then in templates you'll have a header, then you have footer, and then you will bring those, require
Right.
those, and then put it
Yes.
like that, right?
Yeah. Ginger
So
kind of
this
thing.
fits, yeah, this fits right into that, right? We are
Mm-hmm.
just creating UI abstractions that we are using in different places,
Okay.
right? So remember this export import, right? I
Mm-hmm.
could have written this in any other file and then could have imported it here,
Mm-hmm. I really
right?
don't know
And
like because I have very less knowledge about JavaScript as well.
okay, cool. So let's do one thing. No, just create a file. So I'll create a file. Create a file here, and I'll call it first. So first JS, and
Can
this is
you
just
also
a
like
JavaScript
walk me
file.
through also walk me
Yeah,
through
yeah,
like
I'll do
the
it.
structure?
Yeah, I'll do. So you can see the first.js file, right? Just click on that
Yes.
once. We'll do that all things, right? So open
Mm-hmm.
that once.
Mm-hmm. Now.
Cool. So first thing that we need is, so we need to import React from React. Okay.
Okay.
Then what we need to do is we need to create this function
Mm-hmm.
first. Um, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we do is we just run some JSX. Now,
Okay.
why do we need to import this React thing? No, because it allows us to write JSX. Else it will be pure HTML. This file will know nothing about this. Because
Okay.
we import React, that's why we are able to write this. So
But did we do that in the app.js? I didn't notice if we imported React from
yeah,
React.
we did.
Okay.
We'll look at it now. Okay. Now this is a module. So every single file is a module in React. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now if you want to expose this component, there are two methods. So you could just say export,
Mm-hmm.
and what we have just done is we have created a name export. So how do you use a name export is what we do is if you go to the app file again,
Mm-hmm.
so we go to app,
I'm
and
there.
then what we'll have to do is we'll have to use this, and then we'll have to do curly braces, okay? And
Okay.
then I'll say from, so the relative path is first,
Okay.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll get this first component, and then I can form this out like this,
Okay.
and it still works. Okay, so this is what a named export is. So you
Mm-hmm.
will have to use the exact name that we used here. Okay,
Yeah.
and this is just basic modules. We are just writing modules. Every
Yeah.
single file is a
Looks a
module.
lot like Python, importing
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how you do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for this is and also there is a thing called default exports where you can do this, and then you don't need to use a name. So I could have said
Okay.
this.
What is
First,
default though? That you don't need to give
yeah,
it a name. It will just
exactly.
pick up whatever the function
Yeah,
name is.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. No, no, no. So whatever you use in the import, okay. So I'm going to say first from
Okay. So this is like a
module.
alias.
Yeah, sort of. So you don't you
You're
whatever
kind
you
of breaking
write,
off.
this is whatever you want to give. Those are called inputs. See, this is
Okay.
your first that you created,
Mm-hmm.
and this one is the one that I created,
Okay.
right?
So how does it
You understand
know
this much, right?
that from first.js there was a default function called first, right? And then when we imported that,
No, it doesn't know. It doesn't know. It doesn't know. Doesn't matter what this was named. We
mm-hmm,
just it just knows that there is a function and
mm-hmm,
it's the default export. So if you write the syntax import some name from that file, so
mm-hmm.
this some name will be assigned that whatever was used in the default.
Okay. So like if there were multiple functions, can I put default in all of them
Mhm.
or it could be only one?
No, there
There
could
could be
be
only
only
one.
one default import.
Okay.
Then you will have to use yeah name and export for other ones.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Cool. So
Yeah.
I'm going to get rid of the one that we imported for now.
Mm-hmm,
Right? So we could also export and import stuff from other modules.
mm-hmm,
So let's just stay in this file and it's easier for us to navigate this, right?
mm-hmm,
Now we just learned that creating components is good for UI composition, right?
mm-hmm,
You could use complicated logic and then just use it everywhere, right?
mm-hmm.
So we're gonna get this. Now let's do one thing. Can you create a list component and then this whole UI li logic, move it there and use the list component here.
Okay. List.
Uh-huh.
I'm assuming like there are no reserved names.
No, if there are, I'll tell you. So you can try it. Just save it. It'll do it for you.
Okay. That's great. So now I can like put a list here. Okay.
Yep. That's
Mm-hmm.
great. So we achieved what we wanted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you see the abstraction of list? We can use that everywhere we want, right?
Yes. So basically, on a high level, you can say, okay, show a header, then body, and then whatever your composition
Exactly.
is. Okay.
Exactly. So one thing that we have achieved is previously we had the template language that was require everything, blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have a clean composition of things. So we have a header, we
Mm-hmm.
use it everywhere. We have a footer, we just use it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could also do. There are other things that you can do. So avoid reusability, like do one header and one footer, and then just only change the content in between those.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a topic for a later day. Now let's do one thing, right? We have a list, but it's just static, right? There is no way for us to extend it.
Right.
So why don't you do one thing? Get rid of all the first components and create a input component. Uh, Not in the list actually. The first calls in app. The
These.
call, yeah. Get rid of these.
Mm-hmm.
Create a HTML input element here.
Mm-hmm. Type.
Type is going to be text, right? And then let's just keep it for now. Cool,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now let's do one thing. Go to list
Mm-hmm.
and let's look at a good thing. So go to the initial part of list.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the initial part of list, like the function starting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on the first line of the function. Uh, yeah, press and enter. I'll go up. Jason, I told you this is just a function, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can do all things that I can do inside a function.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you do one thing? You say const list items,
What's the convention?
camel case, but use
Okay.
whatever you want. Yeah, and make an array, and then do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, right? And
Yeah.
do a semicolon if you want to. Sure. Now I'm going to show you a new concept, which is something interesting. Okay. Now you know, right? This li bit
Mm-hmm.
is just me imagining there exists a li component, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
repeating it 5 times, right?
Right.
Since it's just a function, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think I can loop on this some way?
Probably. Like if it was a string, I would know, but not sure if you can
Yes.
do that on
So I
JSX.
can actually. So what you can do is,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just doing a map, right? And
Mm-hmm.
inside map, I'll get a list item.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then inside the map, what I'll do is, uh, what I'll do is I'll return one single li.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
then I can write these brackets. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now the thing with these is that what you can use is inside JSX, wherever you want to write some JavaScript, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just use this and write your JavaScript.
A
So if I
list
have
item.
to, yeah,
Uh,
if
okay.
I do it like this,
Mm-hmm.
right, and then something for some reason, let's see what's wrong. Just check this one second.
Is it equal, greater than, or like what's the syntax for
No,
a
so this is
lambda?
let me get rid of this. Yeah,
This is a
it
lambda,
was a
right?
lambda.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but let's just use these functions throughout. Okay,
Okay.
we will not confuse with that. Okay, I know because the same
Okay.
thing,
This
right?
whole thing
I,
is, yes,
yeah, because this
JavaScript.
is JavaScript, right? I
Yes.
have to wrap it inside that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So see, we got the same thing back.
Mm-hmm. So for every list item, map that to this function, which
Uh-huh.
returns a list item of list item, right?
Right,
Basically, it's looping over all these and then
correct.
basically adding all these and then returning
So
it.
it's not
Okay.
concatenating. That's the important bit, right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
concatenating. It's returning 5 of these,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
which goes inside this.
Okay. So like, is this map also lazy? Like, or
No, this is not lazy. Nothing in JavaScript is lazy. Nothing in
okay.
JavaScript is
Okay.
cool. So this will happen one after the other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if we so this input field, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think since it's just an array, we can patch it and add new items to this somehow?
I think we can take input, uh, maybe.
Uh-huh. Great. So we can take input. So what you will do is, why don't you take this input element and
Mm-hmm.
bring it to the list component itself.
Okay.
Everything inside return has to be JSX, right? Nothing
Mm-hmm.
outside return could be JSX.
Okay. So
So this, okay,
this should be inside GSX.
correct, correct,
Okay.
correct.
It's giving me an
Now
error.
notice this is complaining, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you why. So I made you do this intentionally
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to show you one thing. So I'll do one thing for you. I'll comment this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So with JSX, right, with JavaScript also,
Mm-hmm.
you can only return one single entity.
Got it. So can we like wrap it inside a div?
We can, okay? So
Mm-hmm.
why don't you do and go and ahead and do that?
Okay.
We'll do that. Cool, great. So this
Mm-hmm.
works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what the thing was that this used to happen a lot in JavaScript, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you one weird thing that happened with this. So this div is right.
Mm-hmm.
This is not actually part of our UI. We didn't want it. We just wanted two siblings.
Yes.
But because of this thing that React has, that I can only return one thing,
Mm-hmm.
it made forced me to like write a div, right?
Mm-hmm.
So React, after a specific version, realized that okay, people get irritated and their UIs look bad because of these extra divs.
Mm-hmm.
So they introduced this new thing called fragment. Okay, now
Fragment. Okay.
fragment is just an empty tag,
Mm-hmm.
empty closing, opening and closing tag,
Mm-hmm.
which just helps you write siblings. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so if you now go ahead and inspect your right side, so go to the visual panel, which is almost like a browser, and then right click, go to inspect element. No,
Okay.
no, inside this. Yeah, right click.
Inside the browser, like the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
preview.
correct, correct. That's the fine. That's fine. That's exactly what will open.
Inspect. Okay.
Yeah,
Feels
go
like it's
to.
opening for everything.
Yeah, yeah. That's what we want. Now go to the arrow
Mm-hmm.
on the first, and then select the
But I see a
input.
div. Like I see input.
Right, but the div is from app. So the div that we are seeing right now is from app.
Okay.
So why don't you do one thing? Replace the thing that we just did. So Control Z, and go back to the div. So remove the fragment.
Like I cannot do Control Z. I think because it was in your state.
Okay, let me do that. So just write a div. Let's just declare that. Write a div.
Div and div.
No, no, no. This is wrong. Okay, div. The forward slash has to come before the value.
Okay. I expected this to happen sometimes.
Now do the now do the whole inspect business again.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of slow.
So we'll just do it once, so it doesn't
Why?
really matter.
Okay. Yes, now I'm seeing an extra div.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what fragment basically does. It helps us avoid that. Now you can just close this. We'll never use it again.
Okay. Okay. So if you don't want to do a div, you can just do a fragment. It will just
Yep.
return
Yep.
everything. Okay.
Yep. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's go back to the logic that we wanted to create, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we have this list, okay, and then we wanted to add more items to this. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you think we can do that?
Dot append. Or but I don't know,
Yeah,
like because you have to get
yeah,
that
the method. Yeah,
asynchronous.
yeah. So the method is called push, right, on the JavaScript arrays.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do one thing. Let's create. So press enter and let's create a function called. So
Where?
inside the list, just after the array, right? Create a function
Okay.
called uh, input handler, or do whatever you want, right? And then what we'll do is we'll say that we have our list item side. So list items
List items dot.
dot push,
Mm-hmm.
and then push some value, say six. Just push six inside. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Now, for a second, let's just uh, uh, so I'll do one thing for us to look at it better. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a button in place of the input that we have. Okay,
Okay.
and then I'll tell you why I'm doing this. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because on this we have this thing called onClick. You
Okay.
know onClick, right?
Yes. And then you can put input handler, and then has that has to be in brackets.
Yeah. So
E.
and then this e. So basically, our value is we don't really have a value, right? So what we can do is we can just call input handler, and then what we'll do is basically just call this function. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
does this make sense?
Yes. So you have a button. If you call that button, it will call input handler, which will put six to list items, and then it should automatically refresh, I think.
Yeah, that be the idea. But let's see if it does or doesn't. So that's why I'm putting a console log here. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and we can see our logs here. So if you look at this thing at the bottom right of your console, which has a lot of red thingies,
Mm-hmm.
one is called console.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, open this up.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let me just press add six real quick and see what happens. So yeah, you can clear that, and then let's.
I'm clicking.
Uh,
I did.
yep,
It added,
yep,
but it didn't appear.
yep. So it didn't appear right.
Mm-hmm.
So now comes our first concept called states. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So React works basically on the concept notion of state. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you get that state is so the React module has a named export called of a thing called use state. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now this use state is a hook. Like in React, we call
Mm-hmm.
this a hook.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what this basically does. Okay. So whenever you want to create some state for which your UI should react, you
Mm-hmm.
use state. Okay.
Okay.
And how you use it is so basically you say use and then you say items. This is going to be the container for it. Okay. And then we get a function called set items. So this use thing gives us two things. Okay. One is a value and another one is just a
What is this data structure like that you're defining on line 10? Now line 9. Like what is this? Looks like a
yeah.
list to
So
me.
this is no, this is yeah, this is just an array. So okay, so think of it like this, right? Use
Mm-hmm.
state
Mm-hmm.
is a function,
Mm-hmm.
takes the initial value,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
gives us two things. One is an immutable value that we initially passed.
Okay.
Okay. Another thing is a setter to change that value.
Okay.
This function returns two things. One is
Mm-hmm.
a value, another is a function. Okay.
Okay.
Now, if you use something that you brought from use state, okay,
Mm-hmm.
inside your UI, which you are
Mm-hmm.
returning here, the JSX, it
Mm-hmm.
will be reactive to that values changes. Okay.
Okay.
So what we did previously was we did just this, right? In turn, all that logic just transferred to this, right?
Okay.
We were just having just a data structure and then we were changing the values.
Mm-hmm.
Since the setter is already given to us, so we can just change it, right?
Okay. So
But this
is
doesn't,
it going to stay like this, or like are we going to add anything here?
for now, it's going to stay an empty because we want to start with the empty list, okay?
Okay.
But notice we are just changing the value of an array with six, a hard
Mm-hmm.
coded six, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want to do that, right? So what we want to do is we want to have items, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then add a six to items, right?
Okay.
So there is this syntax in JavaScript called spread, okay? So what it
Mm-hmm.
does is basically when I write this, what it does is goes to the items array,
Mm-hmm.
copies every single item that we had
Mm-hmm.
inside this newly constructed array,
Mm-hmm.
and adds six at its last.
Okay.
Okay. So in its first iteration, what will happen is no items, so nothing here. 1 6 will be added. In the second iteration, we'll have 1 6, so this place will be 6, and another 6 will be added. Okay,
Okay.
make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so let's try clicking it now.
I see 6, but there's a warning. Each child in list should
Yeah,
have a.
ignore that for now.
Okay.
Just close the
So,
console
like, I'm
entirely.
trying to think through line 16, right? Isn't that like a big O-N uh, operation that you're
It
doing?
is. It is.
So, like, if you are dealing with, big list, then if you, like, every time you add everything and any element, you have to iterate every
Yeah,
single time.
because there is a good reason for it. State data that you get as a first parameter is immutable, and the
Okay.
only way to change it is this setter that we get.
Okay. So, like, line 9, I'm still a little bit confused. So, you have a items, which is the state, and
Uh,
then you have a set items, and then this use state, I don't know what it returns. So,
so
use
a
state.
use state. So
Mm-hmm.
use state is a function
Mm-hmm.
that's provided to us by React.
Okay.
Okay. What it does is basically it lets us create items when used in UI will be reactive to changing in their
Mm-hmm.
values.
So the way I see it, that use state is assigning a function and then kind of
No, no,
linking
no,
these to the
no, no.
state.
Let's just think about this straight. Okay, let's
Mm-hmm.
just not try to know what use state does for now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just think of this as another API that a library called React provides. Okay,
Okay.
this takes an initial value. In
Mm-hmm.
our case, the initial value is an empty array.
Okay.
Okay, then it returns two things. So every use state call will return two things and two things only.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one
Mm-hmm.
is going to be a container.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the other thing is going to be the setter for that container. So
Mm-hmm.
items and set items. This is the convention that how we write it. Okay,
Okay.
now the interesting bit, we could have done that with any simple array, right? Why do we use state? Because with use state, the thing is that if you use those values inside your render,
Mm-hmm.
basically your JSX, right,
Mm-hmm.
your JSX will be reactive to value changes in this items.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
So what we are doing is we have items. Initially, it's empty.
Mm-hmm.
When we do power empty, nothing happens, so no loop happens, right? So we just
Mm-hmm.
have the button. When we click add 6 for the first time, one item is added.
Mm-hmm.
Got it?
Yeah.
When we click another time, another item is added, and you
Yes.
just keep clicking and more items get added,
Okay.
right? And
Yeah.
your UI updates automatically because it's reactive on the thing that we got from useState as the first argument. Okay,
Okay. But how did we find that set items takes a list
it
of
doesn't it
numbers?
doesn't it doesn't so it will take anything and put it in items. But
Okay.
since our items is supposed to be an array, we will have to know that okay, this should only be an array. That's why that then only our code below makes sense,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Got
So
it.
there is nothing, no restriction like that. You could have just written 6 and
Mm-hmm.
it will not do the right thing.
Okay. Okay. So it's
Makes
like
sense?
it takes everything as an input, and then whatever your code is, it's
Correct?
responsibility to render it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. Right?
Okay. So if
So
I like put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the initial state should be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then like I can. Okay. Got it.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your intuitive logic is correct, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now let's do one thing. We'll also initiate this input, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And inputs are weirdly done in React. So I'll show you how to do that. Okay. So for this also, I'll create a value and a set value.
Can we not just, create one state and then add everything to it?
Yeah, you can, but then it'll be complicated, no? Don't you think
Yes.
that we'll create a state and
Yeah,
then
like
we'll have
from a
operators and then
best practices perspective, we should always create like separate states for everything.
uh-huh,
Okay.
exactly, right? So on this we have a thing called value rise,
Mm-hmm.
and then because we want this to be reactive, right? The value changes. We'll say value here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then on input, right? We have on change because when you write changes happen, right?
Okay.
And then let's also introduce you to this thing called arrow function. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so The syntax is, what you do is, instead of writing the whole function bit, what you do
Mm-hmm.
is you write the parameters directly,
Mm-hmm.
then you
Yeah,
use an
yeah,
arrow
like
sign,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And then you
and then
can
you can write
return
the body
anything.
there. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So here we need the event, so we'll get it here, and then what I'll do set value, right, and then in the event it's at e.target.value. This is just a JavaScript thing. Don't
Mm-hmm.
actually need to know like why this happens or why this happens and how this happens, but always know that input values when you type you get that on event.target.value. Khatam.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So basically we are saying if the text box changes, call the onChange function and then set its value to the target value, and I'm assuming we'll uh, change the button text based on this.
We will. That's
Okay.
nice. So if I say 166 here, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see that input is one showing 166 now, right?
Not showing for me. I can type. No, it's not working for me.
Just refresh once on the top.
Because we haven't like added the logic to say change
No, no,
button
no,
text.
no, 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 not this. Just the input inside it.
So
When you type 166, it says 166, right?
where?
Inside the input box.
Yes, like I'm typing anything and it's taking the input.
Yeah, yeah. That's what we are supposed to do. Now, if you want to change the text, let's do that.
So you're saying if I didn't implement this on change function,
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
couldn't input anything.
You could, but so this is weird, right? That's why
Mm-hmm.
I said it's weird, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, the weirdness here is that I'll show you this some other time, but just take what I'm saying for granted for now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is the weird thing with inputs is that since you type, right,
Mm-hmm.
the default behavior of input is to show you whatever you're typing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So it will still show you if
Mm-hmm.
you don't use these two things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I save it now and if I
Yes.
type it, it still shows me, right? But it's not, the input is not in the React cycle anywhere. Okay.
Okay, it's just in on my screen on my browser.
Correct. Exactly.
Like,
So
so
to
if I
bring
type
this,
anything in input box, it's not actually like went inside the JavaScript and stored somewhere. I have
exactly,
to set a
exactly,
on change function to
exactly,
set its value. Okay.
precisely. Yeah. So to bring this in the JavaScript ecosystem, right, we have to use this pair. So on change and value is a pair. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a bit of weirdness. I'll show you some other time the details of
Like, do
this.
we like this seems like a very generic thing, and I think
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
need
So
to use this
whenever
everywhere.
that, yeah, whenever you will use an input, you will write this
Okay.
together. Cool.
But I
So
think
now we,
like it gives us a flexibility. So whatever I type, it can correct that before it's set as a value.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure, you can do whatever you want to.
Okay, so let's say I type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in function I can say if it's a character, then set the value. Otherwise, don't set its value. So if I type
Yeah,
anything, it will just take the numbers.
correct.
Okay,
Exactly. And do that. If you want to do that, you should do that. Right? You
okay.
should do that.
So yeah, I'm assuming if statement is the same. If
Uh-huh.
I will just say let, what is the thing? Let value
Mhm.
equals
Read
the
that.
target value.
Correct. Right.
If
And then how you
value
can change like it. Mhm.
value like how do I check the type?
Yeah.
Dot
So
type.
I'll do that for you. So this is the, let's bring. So first of all, we need this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you have to say. So this is a thing that we are doing for now.
Okay,
Okay.
type of triple equals. Okay.
Because we want to make sure
Mm-hmm.
double equals will also fine,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you do this, then if the type is number, then we'll just return. Okay.
Okay, so type is actually a number here, like not a class
Yeah.
or anything.
So type
Like,
of value actually.
so
Look at
when you
this
like
type of.
when you do that in Python, type is
Mhm.
actually a thing in Python, right? So it's a derivative of object class that you can say like it's a type. So let it type of value.
Wait, 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 wait. Actually, the thing is right. So this is always going to be string since this right here.
Mm-hmm.
always return string. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'll do is, first of all, I'll convert it to number. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let numval is equal to,
Or I can do something like try parse,
yeah, yeah. So let's just do it if we are doing it for now.
because if I
Let's
pass
just do it
anything
properly.
else, then wouldn't
I'll
it
just,
tell me
I'll,
an error?
I'll just, no, no, I'll just do it properly. No worries. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, interesting, मैं बहुत interesting, I'll write a interesting thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So look at this.
0 is greater than if 0.
Yeah. So wait. So num value, right? Or I could have done that. There are various ways to doing this. So let's do this one.
So let's use this logic. If the input can be parsed
Yeah, yeah.
as
I
an
was going to do
integer,
that. In fact, let's do this one more.
okay, this is a very dirty hack.
So I'm just we're just experimenting, right? So
Includes value. Okay.
this not do. So if I type one any number of times, it's not going to show me that.
Okay, so if I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's not going to set value, otherwise it will set value.
Correct, correct,
Okay.
correct.
So let me try ABC 1, 2, 3. Or it did.
Because now the value is complete, right? ABC 123. That's the value, not just 123.
Okay, so if I type 1, okay, I cannot type 1 alone.
Yeah,
So I can do something like contains maybe.
yeah, you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But in this, it's the
Yeah, like
oh,
like I got it. Like
actually,
we can do.
yeah, we are doing it the other way. If you do value dot includes
Mm-hmm.
and one of these, then it will happen, right? So
Okay.
basically, that was not the point. So we didn't it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the point of how you use inputs, right?
Okay. On
Cool.
change and value pair. Okay.
Yeah, on change and value pair. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is weird way of doing on change, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now what I want you to do is, why don't you do one thing? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Make it such that whatever value I type here
Mm-hmm.
goes into this array and it appears here. And when it will appear is when I click add.
Okay. So sequence of event is I type anything, then I click add and it should appear on the list.
Correct, correct,
Okay.
correct.
So like the input part is all set. Now
Mhm,
like set value is here, but I can also like
mhm.
do set items dot add.
Yeah, but you don't need to do that right when you are typing. You need to do that when the button is clicked.
Okay, yes. Yeah, so on click set items, and then instead
Mhm.
of items I would just say value. Where is it? Can say
But then it will overwrite the whole array with value. So you need to add that thing to value
so
items.
value and then comma. But like where is
But
this?
value is just, mhm.
Where is the like value itself is what? Is it a singular thing? Because I can
Yeah,
add
it's just a piece of thing.
value and then like how do I get new value? E dot.
You don't need the new value here, right? This
Mm-hmm.
E will point to the event of clicking the button.
Okay.
This E is not related to input at all.
Mm-hmm.
So go back, think back, and try to remember how we did add six. So we had this spread sort of thing, right? To keep all
Yes.
the items and then
Yes, so
add them.
that's what I'm trying to figure out, right? Because you want to spread a list, but
Mhm.
values looks like a singular thing to me.
Yeah, so but
So
we
what do I
we don't need
spread?
to spread values.
Items?
We just exactly
Okay.
we need to spread items.
Items and then value.
Well, well,
Okay.
try now.
Okay. Yeah, so next time it will be a part of items because
Correct,
okay.
correct, correct.
So if I type 5, yep, it's working.
Yeah, you can add any values. Just try it. See
I
what
can
happens.
also do like because I want to clear it once I've pressed add. So set items and then how do I clear this button? Like sorry, how do I clear the input? I want
How
to
do you clear the input? Oh yeah, yeah. You
yeah.
just set the value to empty string.
Okay. So set value,
Mhm.
set value and then nothing.
Empty string. We'll have to say set it to empty string.
Okay. Okay. Yep.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So, you know how I've been stressing like this UL is not a JavaScript tag, it's a component JSX, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, because we know that already, so
Mm-hmm.
why don't we go ahead and create our own UL? So, why don't you on line 3 create a UL component?
I want to create what a UL component.
Yes, so create a function that's named capital UN small l.
Okay. UNCTION function capital U small l,
Hmm.
and this return this thing, but it won't know the states that we are using.
Correct. So I just want you to return, no, I just want you to create a UL component, not the UL in our context.
Okay.
This UL has to be as reusable as the one which is
So I
provided
can
to us.
say UL and
Mhm.
then close UL. But then how do I, like, because
Exactly.
I'm not
So
taking any input
this,
here.
yeah, exactly. So this gives me the opportunity to explain the next concept. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So look look at this. Okay. Before we had, so if you go down to the original function we had, just go down to
Mm-hmm.
the file, right? Just move down the file,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you see this app component, right?
Yes.
This is basically just keeping logic in terms of UI, right?
Mm-hmm.
This has no logic of its own.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, a component in this context is basically extremely similar to how we create templates and subtemplates, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then we wanted to make our components smarter, right? So if say we had a function that's named add, but
Mm-hmm.
and takes two parameters, but doesn't do anything with it, and always returns one plus two is three,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's not extremely usable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we introduce the notion of state. Now, state gives us another really interesting abstraction on top of all this mess, because now we are just using list, and list is a component that can automatically provides us with an input, a button to add new items, and then a list which actually shows us the items, right?
Mm-hmm. So
So
like,
list,
why can't I, just take an input and append it here?
yeah,
Or
I'll tell you. So I'll
mm-hmm.
tell you why. So right. So previously our functions were lame. They couldn't interact with inside. There was no logic. They couldn't interact with the outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were lame. Then we introduced state, and our
Mm-hmm.
functions became a little smarter. They
Mm-hmm.
had their own unique state. Now they could do interesting things inside them,
Mm-hmm.
right? But still, they are extremely weird in a sense that there is only one and one way to interact with them,
Mm-hmm.
which is just call them, right? You
Yeah.
can't like change their behavior from the outside when you're calling them, right?
Yes.
So that's why this new concept that we have been using in hindsight and didn't know about was introduced. So it's called props. Okay. So if you say props here, okay,
Mm-hmm.
now each function that we create takes an argument. We haven't been using it anywhere here, but we'll use it now. Okay.
Okay.
Now the first interesting prop that we get is called children. Okay. So when you say props dot children, and this is the first thing that is already defined in React. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't use a prop called children anywhere else. This is reserved by React and React uses it. Okay.
Okay.
So if you say children as prop, they'll give you an error.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, we have done is, so you know how we have been using UL like this, right? So UL, and then we have some stuff here, and then we say UL here, right? Right? This
Mm-hmm.
is how we write HTML, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
have a opening tag, we have a closing tag, and inside this we have something inside.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever there are two ways of writing a tag, one is that, and one is this, right?
Yes.
When we do anything inside like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
All that is given to us in children.
Okay.
Got it? So now what I could have done is I've used my UL. I don't want to use the UL that they have, and I get the same results. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you do one thing and then also create a li for us? We don't want to use the HTML li anymore.
Okay. It's not closing it for me automatically.
It will if you write slash ahead of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, yep, yep. Nice, nice. Good, great. Save the file, replace it. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, save the file.
Yeah.
Great. So we've introduced the notion of props, right? Now think of props as a mechanism of interacting with the function when you're calling it. Okay?
Okay.
State is to keep internal logic to a component, do
Mm-hmm.
interesting things. Props is to influence that logic in some way or the other. Because if that was not there, then our components will be lame and will just do one thing always. Props gives us the ability to extend their feature set at a
Okay.
given time, right?
So I should not look at it like a regular function and its arguments,
Yeah.
because
This is,
otherwise I should not have to do like dot children. I could just do props if it was a regular, argument.
exactly, exactly, exactly. So this is a special argument that's provided to us by React. So this is
Okay.
function. It's not really function now. It's a component. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, right? So
Yeah.
now we can extend the ability of our stuff, right? Now, you know what you could do? You could, our plain or li is bad, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'll write some CSS for you, right? So style, and then since we have to write CSS in JavaScript, so this is also going to be written in the JavaScript syntax, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say list
So
style,
you have to do two brackets.
yeah, and then we'll say no. And so these are supposed to be applied to we don't have the dots in, right?
I don't
And
have
for
what?
this, what I'll do, if you refresh now, you don't
Mm-hmm.
have the dots, right? And why to keep our li like this? So what I'll do is I'll create a paragraph tag around this, or maybe not a paragraph tag. I'll do something that gives us a unique. So there is this tag called strong. Okay,
Strong. Yeah.
what it does is makes it bold. So now our items are bold,
Mm-hmm.
and our lists don't have the weird dot in front of them,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So what we have done is we've taken the basics and extended it. So our UL has a basic style and our li also has this thing, right?
Okay.
So now also one other thing that I want you to notice is ये अपन on click लिखते हैं ना type props blah this blah that,
Mm-hmm.
right? These are all props.
Okay.
So how do you pass a prop to something, right? So let's do one thing. We are passing this array directly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do one thing. Let's extend list to say it will take up props, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the initial value will be provided from outside.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
Okay.
since we haven't done any, um,
Anything in app, like we are not passing anything from app right now.
yeah, yeah. So what we'll do is we'll say initial value and then we'll pass an array.
Okay. But we can write anything. It does not has to be init val.
Yeah, yeah. This
Okay.
is just a object key,
Okay. Got it.
right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
now if I
Mm-hmm.
do two instances of this,
Mm-hmm.
previously I had no ability to change this, right? But now
Mm-hmm.
I can influence this. So one is numberless, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm going to greetings. So one greeting is hi, another one is hello, and if I say peace, I get my different greetings.
I'm not able to see it. Let me refresh.
Refresh it now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Now I can see it.
Right. Now my
Mm-hmm.
lists are smart. They can
Mm-hmm.
do multiple things, right? Previously they
Yes.
were just showing me weird numbers,
Mm-hmm.
right? So whenever you do something like a value name
Mm-hmm.
and equals to some valid JavaScript value,
Mm-hmm.
right? This will become a key on the props with the same name.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So when you
Okay,
create a component, you pass in props, and then whatever
correct.
you are passing is actually part can be set like this.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And now look at input, right? We are passing type, which is a prop. We are
Mm-hmm.
passing value, which is a prop, and
Mm-hmm.
we are passing on change, which is a prop. But
Mm-hmm.
on change is a special prop, okay? So I'll tell you why this special prop was needed. So on input, right, and on button or any other text, right, or any other component, sometimes you need some things to assign event handlers for, right? So how would you do on click on in simple JavaScript, right? You'll say document.get element by ID,
Mm-hmm.
then you'll say dot add event listener, and then you'll say click, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how would React know which are events that it's supposed to react on, like add an event listener for, and
Mm-hmm.
which are just normal values? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they came up with special convention of on. So anything that starts from on is supposedly a listener.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can for your own components override this behavior since it's still just a name. But
Mm-hmm.
for the ones that are provided to us out of the box, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like button and input, which map to the button and input of HTML, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since they expect click and change, so on. That's why this on is here.
Okay.
That's exactly how React knows that, okay, I need to use this one as the event listener and not this one. And this one as the click event listener and not the any other one,
Okay. Got it.
right?
So I
So,
can, in theory, like, let's say I created a very complex component, which is a
mhm,
composition of a lot of components, then I
correct.
can implement on click of its own, and then let like change it, like make it do multiple things of all the
Exactly.
constituent components.
Exactly. And exactly that's exactly what we are going to do now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what we are going to do is we are going to write a to-do list app. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we already have the basic foundation for that. We just need to change a few things. Okay. So if it's going to be a to-do list app, uh, we can keep it array also. Hmm, right.
Let me check the YouTube comments first.
Sure. There are none. Yes, there are none. You're back.
Yeah, I'm just checking.
Yeah, I'm watching the stream. There are no ones, yeah. So we already have the foundation for it, right? Now what I want you to do is I also want you to create a few buttons here, okay? One is going to be for edit, and then another one is going to be for deleting. Okay. So first things that we understand that our li now can't just simply be text. It also has to contain two buttons.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we go ahead and do that? Parallel to text, let's add two buttons. Call one update and call another one delete.
Okay. So every li uh,
Yeah.
like should return. So I'll just create. I don't remember what was this called.
Yeah. So inside the li only, we need two more buttons. It's
Oh,
called
okay,
fragment. We
inside
don't
li.
need that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was
Inside
going to
the
do.
li.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll be better if we do it inside li. I'll tell you why. Just add two buttons. Okay.
Okay. I'll do input, but I can copy it from
No, not input. We need buttons.
buttons. So input type button, right? Or just button.
No, just button. Simple
What's the
button.
difference between the two? Like I've said.
There is not. So input type button is more to for forms, and buttons are general form buttons.
Okay. Like input type submit and buttons are like.
Correct,
Okay.
correct, correct.
So I'll add one button and then
Mhm.
I'll add another button.
Yeah,
I
you could
need to
just
add
copy
text. What can
control.
what should I add?
Call one update and another one delete.
Update and delete.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And how do I space them?
Now I'll style them for you. Okay. So style them for you.
You want a margin of, I would say, one
No,
pixel.
I don't need that. It should allow, will be display,
500. Okay.
and then it will justify. Okay.
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 Mm-hmm.
So we've got our basic structure here.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's try to implement delete. So think, how can we implement delete functionality?
Okay. So when we say delete,
Hmm.
the current list element should
Hmm.
be set to empty string, right? Uh, so this has to happen on this button.
But button will still come, right? If you set it to empty string, buttons will still come. Think all in React also. React is a framework to map your data
Mm-hmm.
from values, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we already know that our items are stored in items, right? So
Mm-hmm.
basically, delete should also remove that particular item from items only,
Okay, yeah, so
right?
I have to delete the whole thing. So
Yeah.
how do I destruct, like, remove
We
this from here?
Yeah. So what we should do is inside list,
Mm-hmm.
let's create a function to delete item. So why don't you go ahead in list and create a function called delete item?
Go inside list
List,
and
yeah.
uh-huh,
That's
and
where
then
that's where our data is, right? Let's
mm-hmm.
create a function called delete item single because we are only going to create a single item,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, how can you remove a specific item? So what's the easiest way to do that? So if we can get the index of it right,
Mm-hmm.
it'll be easier for us to just remove that, right?
Yes.
So why don't you take the index as an argument to this function?
Okay. So index.
Yep, yep, that's nice. And now I'll tell you about this interesting function in JavaScript called splice. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to Google, you can Google, but if you want, I can also show you how that works.
Yes, splice. You can explain.
Yeah, so it basically from a given index, it will remove how many whatsoever elements you want to remove.
Okay.
Okay, so how we'll do this is basically uh, what we can do is we'll create first of all. So the method actually works on the data source itself, right? So what we'll do is we'll items copy and then just spread it. So items like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now this is I'm doing this because we can't change it, and the splice works on the array itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I call items dot copy and then splice, right?
Mm-hmm.
See the definition here.
One
So
one.
start, yeah. So one, not really one actually. We
Mm-hmm.
need the start index to be the index.
Index one.
Yeah, then right.
Mm-hmm.
Now this items is updated, right? But we also need to
Set it.
up,
So
exactly, right?
set
So
items copy.
exactly, right.
Mm-hmm.
So this function, given a given index, can change this thing,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But this function needs to be executed from inside the li component.
Yes.
Any ideas how we can give this function to li component?
As a prop.
Exactly. So why don't you do that?
Okay. So this is in list, and
Mhm.
then li component is here. So I
Mhm.
can say uh, on delete.
Yeah. You added another equals extra equals.
On delete equals delete item.
Mhm. But you're writing JavaScript, so what you need to do to write JavaScript? Not
This.
the not for the whole thing. just for
Mm-hmm.
the value.
Okay.
Yeah.
Delete item, and
Uh-huh.
then
But
I can
how
access
will
it from prop in li here.
yeah? But this is a function, right? How will li know its index? Which index is on this li on?
So
So
can I
can you
not do
also
like,
tell?
like on click and then equals props
Um,
dot delete item?
correct, but the item accepts value, right? The index value, where you are not passing that anywhere.
Yes, I also need to pass. Yes. So how do I pass an
How
index?
exactly? So, okay, so I'll tell you how will you get an index. So on the map, right, you also get the index as the second argument.
Okay. So I got the index, and then I can set, let's say, index equals index, or this bracket again.
Right. Yep. Index or the index is idx, so that's why idx. Or
idx,
yeah, because the second I've taken the index as idx. That's why.
and then I can do props.idx, but how do I pass
Pass
that?
it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what you can do is you can create a function wrapper. Okay, so you'll do something like this. So create another function, right? And inside this function, just pass
Okay,
the
yeah,
prop.
I can call, yes,
So,
idx.
no, the name is
Index,
this
yes,
one,
yeah, yes, yeah, got it.
cool, right? But you know what? You could have also done the same thing here only. Just directly pass the function which already has index in it.
Mm, didn't get it. Like on which line?
The same technique on when you are passing the so now currently we are passing two things to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
One is index, another function on delete, right? But
Yes.
on delete could have been a function wrapper and then in turn call delete item which already has the index passed to it.
Okay. So on delete, I can pass it right here, right? So I can do this,
Uh-huh,
and
exactly.
then call delete item,
Uh-huh.
and then in delete item, I can pass in idx, but where is idx?
idx is right there, no?
Yes, yeah, idx. I can remove
You have
this.
an extra bracket. Yeah, you have extra bracket this thing.
This one,
Yeah, this.
this
Yeah,
parenthesis.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Now
delete
you
item
need to change
idx.
the yeah, it will, but now you also need to change the definition because there now you have the function that you just can execute directly. So you will also need to change stuff in li.
Li, and then I can just do props.delete item.
Yep. No need to do this extra function wrapping also. This is also already a wrapped function,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So should we try deleting some items?
Refresh. Didn't work.
Yep. Didn't work. Uh, let's add some console logs and see
Mm-hmm.
why it didn't. Yeah, so I see that the function is not getting called.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I need to call it on 927.
No, you don't. On click will do that for you.
Okay.
Okay. There is a mistake. They're not looking at it properly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, try to look. No?
So let me see.
So the prop is called on delete, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is li using the on delete prop?
Li dot, yeah, on delete.
Right. Now let's try this.
Yep, working.
Cool. Now let's add some items so that we can test.
Yes, it's working.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now update is going to be interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Okay, so one thing that I'm going to tell you now is that this logic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since our state lived in the li component, right, and we try to change the state from, so our state lives in the list component,
Mm-hmm.
and we are trying to change it from li, right? So
Yes.
we have to pass the handlers down to li as props, right?
Yes.
Because li can't directly access the state,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what we are doing is we are passing the state and also state handlers to li using props, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be a common theme. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what I want you to do is how should we update edit?
I can create another function here. Call it update
Uh,
item.
so, uh,
There's a lag. Update item. And then what should update item take? It should take index and then
mhm,
value. And then
mhm,
I can do
exactly. Mhm,
const item copy. Then
mhm.
why can't I just do items like this? Like why do I have to?
So this will create a reference, and when
Okay.
you spread it, it actually creates.
Okay. So like there is no dot copy method here.
No, not there is no dot.
Items. And then how do I change that?
Yeah.
Items
So
copy dot set or
there is nothing like said, right? So you will have to do it in two steps. Okay. Yeah, you can do that totally. Yep.
that. Okay.
Yep.
And then set items
Mhm.
item copy.
Yep.
Now
Sounds good.
update
Now,
item.
interesting thing is how where will you take the input, right? So what
Yes.
we'll do now is we'll create another state in list and let's call it is edit mode. So let's create another state. Let's call this is edit mode.
Here.
Yeah, inside list. Yeah,
Can I not type in them? Like is edit mode? I know it's going to be a boolean.
you will have to use TypeScript for that.
Okay.
JavaScript natively doesn't support that.
Set
Inside list type mode.
is edit mode.
Okay. Yeah, and then use state and initial value is false. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now we'll do this step by step. Okay. So now what the update button click should do is it should set is added mode to true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's do that.
I can in update item, like instead of
No, no,
passing
no.
value, I
Let's
can.
let let's ignore update item for now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just ignore this. What I want you to do is whenever I click on the update button,
Mm-hmm.
what it should do is it should change this property is mod edit mode to true.
Okay. So I can like I should also can create a new function because I would want to
Yeah,
do that and then
yeah, yeah,
this,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Also, you should create another function because I also want to know which one is being taken. So I also want the index of that.
Okay. Update action.
No, no, call it something related to edit, start edit, or something like that.
Okay. So we called the last one delete item because we were deleting item and I can
Yeah, yeah,
do
but this we are not deleting item right now. We are just enabling the edit mode. So call it enable edit mode or something like
enable edit mode.
that. This will take a index.
Why would it take index? Like I could just do
I am because we are trying to repurpose this input that we already have for adding items for editing also.
what should I do?
So what we want to do is we already have an input and an add button, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they already know how to add values to list, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now what I want to do is I want to repurpose this, so reuse this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or do it in a way that I can still use input and a button, right? So in this, why don't you take an index as
Mm-hmm.
an input, right?
Index. Okay.
And
Index.
then bus index is fine.
And
And
for
then what
that
we need to do
index,
is
I can set the value. But
No, no, no. So this is going to be one, just one value. So this function is going to do two things. So it's going to set is edit mode to true.
So I have a confusion that is edit
Mhm.
mode, we are telling that it's a property of list, but
Yes,
we are
correct.
creating update, like we are clicking update for one list element. So shouldn't this be a state
We
of each?
but update is a two-step process. So for update, first of all, you will have to show the current content, and then the user will make changes to that, and then finally it will update, right? So we are doing the
Okay,
first step right now. We are allowing them the ability to change what have they written previously.
okay, but
So do one
okay.
thing.
Hmm. Enable edit
Do
mode.
yeah, enable edit mode. So set is edit mode to true,
Okay,
right? And then create another state uh, and call it something edit.
inside.
No, actually, okay. So wait. Wait. Hmm. So create another state and to call it edit state, edit index or something like that. Create another state and call it edit index or something like that. Hmm. And just set it to null initially because it's not there in NULL. Yep, that's
If
right.
I do not pass
Now
anything, wouldn't that be a null as well?
it will be, but it will be yeah. So just don't pass it. But explicitly, if you want to do it, you can do
Okay,
it now, right?
yeah.
Now I'm making to do all this because I want to show you this thing called conditional rendering in JavaScript, okay,
Mm-hmm.
or React. So come to line number 58 once.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what is conditional rendering basically is, well, you can write this, and this is JavaScript, right? So I can say is edit mode on, right? So if edit mode on, I want to show some piece of UI, and if it's not on, then I want to show some other UI, right?
Okay.
So my initial thing should show whenever my edit mode is not on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just cut this whole thing and then paste it here. But this is two things, so I need a fragment, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a fragment if I save this, it's there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, for a second, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste this here also. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this logic is conditionally rendered. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when my edit mode is on, this will show, and when it's off, so this will show, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in case of edit, it should say update, right?
Okay.
You're following, right?
Yes.
Now, so we have set nice things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nicely, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, so now since you already can see that this will show up when we are editing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So can we change this in a way that instead of setting the value exactly, or no, we can actually set the value. So we can, this is repurposed, right? We can use this directly,
Mm-hmm.
right? We don't want to change anything here. We just want to change the logic here.
Mm-hmm.
So now instead of actually updating the and pushing the elements there, we want to update at a given index, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how we'll get the index? So this
Update
is
item.
going to so update index up, right?
We created this update
Yeah,
item function.
yeah. But also the index is edit index, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we need to set it here. So if we do set edit index and with the index, now this is stored for me to use in second step,
Okay.
right? And now because it's already there, I don't need to use this. And since I'm going to internally call it, I also don't need this. Then my index is always going to be edit index, and my value is going to be the value this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Give me a second. Let me put in the charger. Just one second, right? So this is done. Just try to hook the edit mode on edit and then see what happens. not on this. This is not the update button. This is the update button on the form that we'll build, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be passed to li, and the update button inside li should activate the edit mode. Get it?
Here, this one. Okay.
Yep,
So I
exactly
need
like
to,
how.
okay. So I need to set on click. I haven't set anything yet. And here it needs to call, uh,
Stop, stop. Correct. Now just pass the on update and we are good.
on update, and then this will be li's. I'm not using it here. Here,
Wait, what are you doing this? Yep, yep,
on
exactly.
update,
Mhm.
and what does on update takes?
It enables edit mode for a specific index.
Yes,
So
but okay, so I need to call this and pass an index.
just like how on deleted it, just
Okay,
exactly like how on.
so I'll do this arrow function,
Mm-hmm,
enable edit mode and index,
mm-hmm. It's called IDX. Exactly. But to save it, try it now.
update, hello.
Now, one feature that we are missing is in our input, right?
Mm-hmm,
When we start typing, it should say the initial value, right?
mm-hmm.
So how can we do that?
So this input, so let me refresh this.
Mm-hmm.
So if I click this, then this input should show the initial value, right?
Yep. So how we can do that?
This input is a part of list,
Yeah. So let's just look at. So come to line 61, right?
and then here I can do instead of this, I
No,
can
no.
just
This
do.
this is this is fine. This is fine.
Mm-hmm.
We just need to change the value, actual value inside the value variable. So in edit mode, what you should do is when edit mode is run, it should also do another thing. It should change the value to the value that's currently on that index.
I didn't get it.
So the UI, how it
Mm-hmm.
appears is it'll show whatever is in the value state, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we enable set edit mode,
Mm-hmm.
we do edit mode true.
Mm-hmm.
We set the edit mode index to whatever index we are working with,
Yes.
and we also need to update the value state to whatever value is currently in the items in the index.
Okay. So I can do items and then index
What line are you on?
here. So line 66, I can do items.
But no need to do it here, man. It will not react to your changes. This has to stay exactly like this. You need to change the state in enable edit mode function.
Okay, here.
Yeah.
So,
So do a set value, exactly, and
and
then
set
inside set
value
value
takes,
items dot index. Your items practical index. Exactly. Do you get this logic of how this is working?
I forgot like where we were using items. Okay,
Items
items
is the
dot
actual
index.
list that renders.
Okay, set value. Okay, yes, got it. Yeah,
Got it?
yeah,
Yeah. Now let's try update. Click update.
yes, working
We
now.
get the value, right?
I'm clicking update, but nothing is happening.
Yeah, because we haven't written the update logic, actual update logic.
Mm-hmm.
So come to the button on lines. Yep, right here. So yep, we have to clean the input once we are done. But before that, we also have to do several things, right?
So
So what we have to do is,
enable
go
edit
ahead.
mode.
No, enable mode. So we will have to disable, right? Once we
Mm-hmm.
are done editing.
Mm-hmm.
So set is edit mode false.
set is edit.
Mhm.
So
False.
we are
Exactly.
disabling that.
So currently we are just doing two things. We are cleaning up our logic, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we also remember we created this update in items function, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll also need to call that, right?
So update item function we need to call after this, or maybe before this we can also do
Yeah, yeah. Before this we should do. Before
update
both actually.
item, and then it won't
But,
do anything.
but
Yeah,
yeah, because it's using the values it already
yeah,
knows from
from global
strings.
state. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So just move it on top actually. This should be the first thing that happens. And then we should erase the value and then we should disable it mode. Yeah. Because this hierarchy of steps makes sense, right?
Yes.
Just save it and format it for you. Now try it.
Mm-hmm. It's working.
Good, right?
Yep.
So you understood conditional rendering, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is a all that React is. This is it. In this file,
Mm-hmm.
that's all React is.
If I want to write it in one file, like
Yeah.
now,
Uh-huh.
how do I?
Let's do one thing, no?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just take this whole list thing.
So, like, the reason why I was confused, I thought when we click update,
Uh-huh.
we could, do we can add an input here, right? Because you might want to do multiple updates at times, so you only have
Yeah,
one.
we could totally do that. I just wanted to show you conditional rendering, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why we did it
Yes,
this way.
because this what we did here, I didn't like that. I liked it before when we were passing things in here.
Yeah, exactly. So this we did this because I wanted to show you this thing of
Okay.
yeah
Mm-hmm.
conditional rendering.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we did it,
And we
right?
could also like do this inside li if you want to. Like anywhere you write JSX, you can do conditional rendering.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. So
Okay.
if you wanted to create, say we currently our items is just array, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it was object, then you could also keep states like is editable true or false, and based on that, show
Mm-hmm.
edit buttons, show delete buttons,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. So, okay. I got this.
Yeah. Now
Now,
let's do one thing.
mm-hmm.
So first of all, let's create another file in source and call it li.js.
Load rename new file. li.js.
Uh-huh. And
Created a
move the
folder.
li function x creator folder. Let's- So okay, let's do one thing. Create a components folder first, and inside that create the li. It will show you the React code base structure also, how React apps are structured.
This time I created a file. Components, and then new file. Li. What should it be? Like all, what's the convention?
Yeah, so the first letter should be capital.
li.js. Move it to components.
Yep.
And
And then copy the li.
so how many should you keep in one file?
Just one. That's that file. We are doing this right now. So go to li. Yeah. We don't need the use state, so we can get to that, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. So if you want to export it as the default, since it's already only function here, to export default.
Import li.
No, don't import in app. We'll import it someplace else.
Export.
Yeah. Export default. Yep. Now in components only create UI or UL actually.
So how do I import it here? Import.
Don't import it. Don't import it right now. Don't import it. We'll import it someplace else.
Okay.
Uh, yep. Do the UL also.
ul.js. I hate this confusion between L and I. Components.
Yep. This is bad. Hey. You have to import React and then do export. Yep, just do export now. Save the file, export default.
Mm-hmm. What else do we have? List. We have a list.
Nope, 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 nope. You haven't exported the UI component yet. You will actually. You haven't exported it yet. Export this. Yep. Now create a component called to do app.
Okay.
Mhm. Yep. And copy the whole list bits and move it there.
This whole thing.
Yeah, the whole list. Yeah, the whole thing.
And I should maybe call it to do app.
Yeah, we'll change the name there when we are inside the to do app. Now this time you will also need the use effect. So use state actually. So square brackets and then let errors come just in the to do app JS file.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have to import use state. So comma after React comma. Yep, that's also fine. Just save this now. Save this.
Mm-hmm.
It will
Saved it.
complain that UI and NL are not defined. So import UI and LI here. UL error here. No, so those are default export size. You don't need the bracket for them.
Import
No
li
strings also. No strings also. Just the name. Yep.
like this.
From. Right from. Paste from. Now relative path. So this is string. Yes. Yes. So relative
Components
path.
slash.
No, no, relative path. This is also inside components, right? You don't need that.
Okay.
Just say li with the dot slash. Yep. 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 You have these,
What
right?
is this icon?
Which icon?
This icon.
Wait, let me. On which file? Can you tell?
Here.
I can't see your screen in real time. You have to tell me
Okay.
where.
That's fine. So now I think we also need to export to do app
So the export default. Yep. Export default. Yep. Then save this one and then go to app.
from components like sorry
Yep.
import
No,
to
it's a
do
default default. No, no, no. It's a default one. Yep.
from
Dot slash components. It will help you. Just write dot slash components. It will help you. Yep. So, yep. And then use the to do instead of this. Yep. This is how React apps are structured.
okay, so components, we added different components,
Mhm.
and then I think we can refactor it a little bit after this, like because we are repeating this thing, and then
What in which file?
this is to do app.js, right? And from line 30 to line
Uh-huh.
71 I think we are repeating some logic
From line 30 to line 71, we are repeating logic. No, I don't see any repeating logic there. We are repeating logic.
because we are creating an input and a button.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but the
But
function is
both are
different.
exactly. If
Yes.
we could just maybe isolate the input, but then again, this becomes more clear if we keep that right.
Mm-hmm. So like if we have to do this at every input, like we can also create a input component
Yep,
and
we
then
can.
replace this whole thing. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Then we haven't talked about index.js. Okay, this
Yeah, so
is mm-hmm.
this
Yeah.
is just some code that's not related to React at all. This is just how it's bound. So this is like tooling and shit. So let's not get into that. Let's
Yeah.
learn React.
Yeah.
That is other stuff.
Okay.
So this is basically what React is. Now there is just one thing that I didn't tell you about effects. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but for that we'll have to introduce network calls and such. So we should do that some
Yes.
other time. I'll get
Definitely.
you.
I need to like, because I saw service, how do we create services and then use that data from REST APIs in
Correct.
the,
Yeah, exactly. So just one thing is left, which is how you consume data from a network.
and especially styling things. I still don't know like where we put
Yeah,
that.
yeah. But see, if you want to write normal styles, right in CSS, you
Mm-hmm.
could do in CSS file and then just import it like this. So in app, okay, you could say import, and this time no name or nothing, just this name, okay. And this will also not help you with this. So you'll have to say style.css, and this CSS will get invoked automatically.
Via
It's
the
called
squiggly
styles
lines cannot find path.
because it's called styles here, okay.
Okay.
So one way is to do this. Okay,
Okay.
this is the way that you use uh, basically CSS files, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another way is to write it in line, how we do in UL and LL, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you
So
do it here,
from a design perspective, like should I create a separate
no,
CSS
no,
for all
no,
components?
no. You should use something called. Okay, so I'll show you what, right? So you see here under your files there is a thing called dependencies, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this, I'm going to write
No, I
chakra
don't see it. Where is the dependency? Where is dependencies?
uh, right below your files. So the files in the files
Yes,
tab.
yes. React DOM, React scripts.
So I'm going to write chakra UI core. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm going to write chakra UI React. Okay.
Where you are typing that.
I
So
am
you
importing those
added
two.
a dependency and then you,
Yes.
okay.
So I added two. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So chakra UI and chakra UI React. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now what we could do is in our to do. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of using R import and li. Okay. What I'll do is I'll say import UL, or maybe they don't have UL. So let's import button from. So let's get our stuff back. Um, Give me a second, okay? I can do that. UL from dot slash UL. And then I'll do. So now I'll start importing stuff from Chakra React. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So import.
What is Chakra?
So
Sounds
it's a
like some
component library.
Microsoft.
Yep, it's a component library from Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I did import Chakra UI from. Okay. Now
Mm-hmm.
instead of using my buttons, what we'll do is we'll use Chakra buttons. Okay. Yep.
At emotion React as dependencies.
Yep. Just add it. Whatever it asks you to add. Add again. Add again.
So
So it
can you
asks
tell
you
me
again.
like some good component libraries that
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can use?
I'm telling you. So Chakra is a great one. To
Mm-hmm.
use Chakra, it'll boost your app style automatically quite a bit. Chakra is very modern as in design also. It's used throughout. Okay.
Yeah, this does not looks very modern to me.
Yeah, it will actually if you will use the documentation properly.
Mm-hmm.
We have not done that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you look at the definition, if you want to do anything style related, use a component library. I'll recommend Chakra,
Okay.
right? So your app will look better automatically. You will not have to do a lot of maintenance for that.
Okay. So what kind of features does these libraries provide? Like only UI
They,
or
yep,
functionality as well?
UI and functionality also,
Mm-hmm.
things like modals and such.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, for sure those needs will be taken care of. Maybe it's not looking good because I missed the default thing that how you set up Chakra, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
why it's not looking good. If you go to Chakra's documentation,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you'll have to add some CSS file somewhere. Let's do that quickly. Chakra. Yeah.
Uh, okay, so this is yeah, so these are all React specific libraries, and I'm
Yep.
assuming there will be a material slash React as well.
Yep. These are React specific libraries, and it's not looking good because I have to import something called a provider.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do that. Just give me a second. Quickly go to that. So this is like a way of just doing like CSS, right? So see, suddenly it looks so modern,
Yes. What did
right?
you do? Where did you change what?
Inside the app.js.
Mm-hmm. You
So if you follow
change.
the documentation, yeah. So this is a provider, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a way to share state. So right, so currently what we are doing is we are creating state, and whenever we want to use it in the component that's inside that, right, we
Mm-hmm.
have to pass it with props, right?
Yeah.
But there is a thing called context, and with context you can skip that hierarchy, so you can access that state everywhere. So they use this to theme your app.
Okay.
It looks so much better now, right?
Yes.
So if you use Chakra and stuff like that, your app will look good automatically,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So we just have to learn about network request and handling that, and then you are good. I want to tell you one thing, right? So if you have you noticed that what we are building is
Mm-hmm.
not per se a website; it's more like an app, right?
Yes.
So
That was like
React,
one thing I was going to like if I want
yeah.
to like create a phone app out of it, is it possible?
Mhm. Yeah. So this is a phone app only. You can run it on the phone. Just put in Chakra and make like use Chakra components wherever you want to, right?
Mm-hmm.
It will be responsive automatically, and then it's an app. So
Okay.
React is not really used for like air quotes websites, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly used for building apps,
Mm-hmm.
as we did currently, right? Because it comes with your state management and everything automatically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's used mostly for apps, not really for websites. But
Okay.
you can do that since there is UI composition already there, right?
Okay.
So you can.
So this is like a project. Now, let's say if I want to build something, right? I want to build this with Angular. You do something like Angular build and then hyphen hyphen prod if you
Uh,
want to do a
uh,
production build, right? So
mhm.
what's the what do you do with it then?
Yeah, so this is currently a play environment, right? So what you will have to do is you'll have to export this. So let me see how we export this. Just give me a quick second. Mhm. So we export this. Alright. So yeah, give me a second. I'm just trying to see where do I export this from because you can export this. Mm,
Meanwhile, I'll just check some YouTube starts.
yeah, sure. Hmm. So how do we export the project? Yes.
Congratulations, we received 2 likes
Let's see. Let me Google how to export
and we got around 14 playbacks in total.
this create a tab project from source box. Where to application? Yes, this. I want to export it.
What are you searching?
Left corner. How to export this project?
share, or I don't know.
Either it's
Maybe if I click
yeah,
GitHub.
you can commit PRs from GitHub, so you can do that. That is one way.
Mm-hmm.
But what if I want to like export this?
So the sandbox that we're currently using, this is
Okay,
free.
cool. This is export. So if you go to like the name right on top
Mm-hmm.
right, Yash Bhutoria,
Mm-hmm.
there on the left that hamburger menu, go to that, go to files, and then there is export. So export to zip, and then you can get it
What did I
on.
click? I clicked something and I don't know where I am. Okay, let me go back. And F11.
Okay, you went to home screen.
Yes.
Okay, you clicked your name. You were supposed to click the hamburger menu to the left of it.
Yep. Now I see
In
React.
files,
React.
in files, go to export to zip.
If I go to sandboxes home, is this heuristic vanilla? No.
Yep. This is not the one. You'll have to go back to the same URL that I shared previously.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically there is a way to download this, right? So once you have downloaded it, it's basically a React app project. What a React app project is basically, think of it like this, right? So it's a thing that allows you to write React quickly without indulging in the tooling a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it already has the packages that you need, libraries, stuff like that, right?
Okay.
So then you can directly run npm build, and this will compile all this to simple HTML,
Okay.
CSS, JavaScript, and then you can deploy it to any static hosting.
Okay. Okay. I think it's a good time to end stream and we can maybe plan more streams in
Yep,
upcoming
yep,
days or
yep,
weekends, right?
yep.
So, guys, if you have any questions, reach out to us. I'll put Twitter handles and code base links in
This
the
is this
description.
this is going to get recorded, right? The stream.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Good, great.
Okay. So we'll put all the comments in the link and let us know if you have any questions.
Yep.
This was Backbite and it was a great day. Thank you.
Peace.